Holy mother nature, you make it hard to train for a marathon.
Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be.
Hi everybody, my name is Matt and this is What Matters to Matt. Now on this channel I share with you the things that I'm doing to be the best that I can be for the most important thing in my life, which is my family.
I am the king of the castle.
And yes, today I want to talk about Mother Nature for a few different reasons. One of those reasons is just how much Mother Nature has impacted my training. I want to share with you, like I've said before, I want to share with you my experience through my first ever marathon prep. I've got a marathon coming up in May. I'm from the east coast of Canada. I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. I live in New Brunswick, Canada. And for some reason, it never even occurred to me when I was thinking about signing up for the marathon that I signed up for that is in my hometown in May, that doing a marathon in May meant that I would have to train through the winter, meant that I would have to think about what it was going to be like through the winter in New Brunswick.
But, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
Right.
Just, what were you thinking?
And yes, to be honest with you, frankly, whether it's been times that I've posted something on Instagram or I've posted something on Facebook or I've shared something in one of these videos, I kind of wear that as a badge of honor sometimes. Some of the weather that we have to go through, some of the perseverance, some of the ideas around it's so cold, there's so much snow, there's so much ice, all that stuff, and being a proud Canadian, just something that I always felt as sort of like like a badge of honor. But I know I look incredibly cold right now, but honestly, I'm pretty warm. We go out for that run. It was nice. Only about 5K, got it done. A little cold this morning, but if you bundle up and wear the right stuff, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. In this case, in this instance, where I'm training for my first marathon, that creates a number of roadblocks. And the first one that I want to talk about is when I step outside after a snowstorm. And I'm going to try to link to the clip if I can. I might not be able to find it. I might have even deleted it because when I was going to do a video on this earlier in the year, I went outside. I was going to go dig the car out. I did dig the car out, but before I dug the cars out, shoveled the driveway, I made this little joke about how Mother Nature was giving me something else to warm up before my run, that Mother Nature felt that I wasn't properly warming up, so it threw a little bit of snow into the mix. And but I think I deleted that. If I can find it, I'll play it for you. Now, this isn't a video necessarily where I talk about exactly what I do in terms of what I wear to get through the cold. I might touch on some of that, what I wear on my feet to get through the ice and the snow while I'm running. I might touch on some of that, but mostly I just want to talk about the 4 barriers or the 4 things that seem to come up most often when I'm going to go outside for a run and how that's affecting my training and sort of the things that I've settled on in terms of things that I've come to grips with, come to terms with when it comes to my running and exactly how I'm doing my training for my marathon. Okay, so I know this is pretty early in this video, but if you think you're liking this video, it would help out so much if you would consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. All those extra subscribers, all those new subscribers give me the opportunity to share my experience. Honestly, has become a pretty big source of motivation to me, so I would appreciate it. So one of the weirdest things that I've found so far is actually when it comes to cold. I always thought I could handle the cold really well. What I'm starting to find is on some of these really cold mornings, when I'm getting up super early before I have to go teach, we're talking like minus 35 degrees Celsius. Maybe I'll post a picture of what I look like after some of my runs up here. But we're talking pretty cold. And what's funny is when I go in to teach, one of the best points in the afternoon is after all the kids go out at lunch and it's really cold. You come back inside. If you've ever experienced that, coming into the warmth after being out in the cold for a while, after doing something active out in the cold, just how it kind of slows you down a little bit. And some afternoons that is so so nice when you're dealing with a room full of young children. But for me, that also happens when I'm out for a really, really early morning run. And that's something I guess you just have to learn to deal with. There's really no other way around it. What I'm finding is I don't have the time. A lot of evenings I work in the evening, so I don't have the time, or I'm taking my kids to some sort of activity, something that they're doing, whether it's music lessons or whatever. But I don't have times in the evening. And also, I found if I don't get out in the morning, regardless of how snowy, regardless of how cold it is, I'm much less likely to get the workout in for the day or the run in for the day, just because you lose a little bit of motivation. You get tired after a day of work, whatever that work is, and you can lose a little bit of motivation. So I just kind of grin and bear it. And what's funny is once I actually get out there and get moving, the problem isn't the cold. The problem is actually just being a little bit too tired when I come in. And really, the only way I've found to deal with that is more coffee. Okay, so what actually sparked this video now was yesterday I went out for a run. It was meant to be a half marathon distance at a marathon pace, or at the half marathon pace, to kind of set me up for the last 8 weeks of my training program, to give me an idea of what my target should be around my marathon. And I stepped outside and it was insanely icy. When that happens, basically, as I see it, I have 4 different options available to me. Number 1 is drive around in desperate search of an area where I'm going to find some good footing. Maybe that's along a highway, maybe that's along a shoulder of a road, maybe that's not super safe all the time, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. So number 1 is find an area, drive around, take some time, post on Facebook, post on Messenger, search out some of those people that have been running in your area for a long time, asking them exactly where some of the best spots are when the weather's not that great and it's a little icy. What spots seem to clear up first? That actually worked really, really well for me. There's a local running group that I joined that group on Facebook. And when the weather started getting really bad, one of the things I did was I just put it out to that group. Listen, anybody that's local, where are you running when the weather gets really bad? Had some really great suggestions, and that's what I ultimately end up doing unless the weather's really, really bad. And option 2 is turn whatever that workout was meant to be into a really easy run. You can always do that at the end of the day, especially when you're training for a marathon or some sort of a distance event. One of the most important things is time on feet. Now, you have your long runs for that. You have your mileage that you build up through the week. And I know you need to get some speed work in if you're going for some sort of a PR, some sort of a new time goal, if you've got a time in mind for your whatever you're running. But making sure you get that time on that feet. So option 2, even if it is super icy, is to just get out there, take it easy, take it slow. Not try to run too hard, not kind of get yourself, and this did happen to me quite a few times. It happened to me even yesterday when I started out. I did go on my run outside, and I kind of got caught up in the trying to keep the pace that I was meant to keep for the marathon prep. I don't have any video of that. This is a whole nother issue that I'm not going to get into today, but my GoPro, my Hero 10 stopped working on me yesterday, so I don't have any video of that run. But it was really wet. It was really icy, so my feet got soaked within the first kilometer. They were heavy. It just wasn't great conditions. There was some snow, lots of water, lots of pooling. There was just no way I could realistically run at any sort of pace, and I tried to anyways. I ended up having to cut that run short because I pushed it a little bit too hard, and then realized before I hurt myself, let's just bag it for the day. So I did probably mention that the point of this video wasn't to go over exactly what I wore or what I didn't wear when I was out for any sort of a run in the really cold weather or the really icy, snowy weather. But it is worth mentioning that if you are fairly new to running or you're fairly new to training and you don't have all that fancy equipment or all that fancy gear, that's okay. I really don't either. When I'm going out, no matter how icy it gets, I tend to just wear my regular running shoes. If you can afford something fancy, some fancy shoes, put some stud in your shoes, great. But it serves me well to just wear, I'm okay in just running shoes. I just have to watch where I'm stepping and take it a little bit easy. Also, if you train, if you grew up, if you live in a cold place, you probably already have some clothing, some gear to keep you warm when you're out on those cold runs. You don't need anything that fancy when you're starting out. But over time, get the fancy stuff. Now, the third way, and the way that I dread to do, is to actually go to the gym and hop on the treadmill. Hop on that treadmill. Now, I know that's not ideal, and if you're like me, I really like getting out there because I feel like on the treadmill, it has me running just a little bit differently than I do outside. I like to get as much time on my feet outside as I can, but worst come to worst, you might have to move it through to a treadmill. Now for me, when I do go out in search of a decent spot to run, in the back of my car, this sounds kind of foolish, but in the back of my car at all times, I do have a spare set of gym clothes, spare set of shoes, all that stuff just in the trunk, just in case I need to go to the gym and run out some of my miles on a treadmill if the conditions just aren't good enough. And some of that is just how unpredictable conditions can be where I live. You can look at the weather. Weather might seem great, and then all of a sudden it changes really, really quickly, and you're on your way to go run wherever you're going to run. You end up going to the gym, going on a treadmill. It's not the end of the world, and I know there are folks out there who might train for a whole marathon, go through their whole prep on a treadmill. That's just not me. I'm not a huge fan of it, but worst come to worst, you have to do what you have to do, so that might mean getting on a treadmill. Now, the fourth way, and probably one of the ways that I've used more often than a number of the other ones, but it does have some issues. The fourth way is moving your workout to a different day. Now, that can work, and that kind of comes into the second option that I gave, where you kind of just do a really, really easy run. Sometimes if you've got a workout, whether it's a tempo run, even if you're just going to plan on doing some strides or some different things, or you're running something at more of a marathon pace, sometimes you have to move those workouts to a different day because the weather is too bad. The only thing that I'll caution you with, and this is for the folks that are fairly new, maybe it's your first marathon you're training for, or maybe it's the first time you've ever thrown in tempo runs or something like that, something a little bit more intense into your workout program, into your marathon training program. But you have to be aware that you need to make sure that you're not stacking all of your very difficult runs. Let's face it, if you are training, and if you're training at a level where you're kind of pushing the limits for yourself, which I certainly am, you run the risk of injury, and you have to be careful with that. So getting some rest, getting some easy miles, getting some rest days between your hard workouts is really, really important. If you start playing around with throwing those hard days, those tempo runs, those marathon pace runs, any of that stuff, start throwing those days around and swapping them with easy days, just be careful. Just be careful of how you work that into your program. But the thing I think, and probably the last point, or the point I wanted to make to this video, is at the end of the day, it comes down to work. It comes down to putting in some of that time on your feet. So if there is a workout that you miss due to bad weather, for me at least, I'm not going to miss running. I'm either going to end up on a treadmill, I'm either going to make that a really, really easy run, I'm going to do something to get more time on my feet, because the last thing, the most demotivating thing for me is when I start taking extra days off because of weather. If I try to move things around too much because of weather and then things just don't happen, that can snowball so quickly. And what I'm realizing is, as much as the marathon itself is a marathon, the training is a marathon. And keeping motivated for the entire time, hanging on to the fact that you're going to be running a marathon very, very soon, or maybe not really soon, but hanging on to the fact that you are eventually going to be running a marathon may not be enough to keep you motivated if you start playing around with your schedule too much. I know that's kind of a rambly video, and I know that's not a super exciting video, and I'm not sure how much you happen to get out of this video, but it was on my mind because weather has been such a big influence to my training through this marathon prep. My name is Matt. This is What Matters to Matt, and ultimately, again, what matters to me most is my family. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, and please consider hitting that bell notification so you get notified every time I put out a new video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.